right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. My name is Julia. Thank you all for coming to Vinyasa Yoga this evening. Just a quick announcement before we get started. A videographer from the Office of University Advancement might be coming to tape the class today, so you're welcome and encouraged to turn on your video if you feel comfortable doing so, but you certainly do not have to. And I'm gonna go ahead and read you all the William & Mary Campus Rec waiver before we begin. In order to make these classes as freely accessible to our participants, we will be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of class. Participation in this online class is voluntary. Physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk that may result. We strongly recommend that you participate from a space that is suitable for this activity. For example, make sure that you have moved nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you are participating in a yoga class or a class that involves laying on the ground, we recommend that you use a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. Participants are encouraged to stop if they experience pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommends that each participant have an annual physical examination and follow the advice of your healthcare provider before participating. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on our mats in a comfortable seated position. Gliding the shoulder blades down the back, stacking your head over your shoulders, over your hips, placing your palms on your thighs, palms down for grounding or palms up to receive energy. Allow the gaze to soften or the eyes to close. And let's start by exhaling all the air out of our lungs, starting on empty. And taking a deep, slow inhale through the nose. Filling up your lungs all the way, and open the mouth, cleansing exhale. Empty out all the air. Once again, deep, slow inhale through the nose. Cleansing exhale. Once more, deep inhale. Cleansing exhale. Emptying out all the air, starting on empty, and this time just inhaling a third of the way full and hold. Inhale 2/3 of the way full and hold. Inhale all the way and hold at the top. Exhale 1/3, hold. Exhale 2/3, hold. Exhale all the way and hold at the bottom. Inhale 1/3. Hold. 2/3, hold. 3/3, hold. Exhale 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. One more time. Inhale 1, 2, 3. Exhale 1, 2, 3. Coming back to your natural breath cycle as you blink the eyes open, reaching your arms up overhead, side stretching over to the right, keeping the weight evenly distributed between your sits bones, keeping space between the shoulders and the ears, opening up the chest. Coming slowly through center and stretching over to the left. Through center to the right. Maybe going a little bit deeper, coming down onto the elbow if that feels good. Coming back through center once more over to the left. Back through center, making your way into tabletop. Stacking your shoulders over your wrists, stacking your hips over your knees, elongating the back of the neck, and on your inhale, dipping the back, bringing the gaze forward into cow pose. Leading with the navel, rounding the spine, tucking the chin, cat. Moving through cat and cow at your own pace for a few cycles. Incorporate any other movement that might feel good, maybe some side to side, maybe some hip circles. And meet in neutral tabletop. Reach your right arm out in front of you as if you were to shake someone's hand and press back through your left heel, creating one line from your fingertips through your back heel, engaging the core to help keep your balance. Rounding the back as you bring your knee to your elbow and hold. Extend. Elbow to knee. Extend. Elbow to knee. Extend. Lower your hand, lower your knee, reach your left arm out in front, pressing back through your right heel, rounding the spine, elbow to knee. Extend. Elbow to knee. Extend. Elbow to knee. Extend. Lower your hand, lower your knee, flip your right palm over, touching each fingertip to your thumb for a little wrist release, and reverse. Balling up your fist, straighten the elbow just a little bit, shake it out, flipping the left palm over, touch each fingertip to your thumb, and reverse. Ball up your fist, straighten the elbow a little bit, and shake it out. Planting both hands firmly on the mat, tuck your toes, and send the hips up and back to our first downward facing dog. Really pedaling out through the feet, pressing through the roots of the fingers, bringing your chest towards your thighs, releasing the head and shoulders, nodding the head yes, shaking the head no. Coming up on the toes, bending the knees, and straightening your legs as you bring your heels closer to the mat. And finding stillness. Bring the gaze to the top of the mat, slowly stepping forward into fold. Generously bending the knees, shifting the weight a little bit more forward so that your hips are stacked over your ankles, and grounding through the feet as you slowly rise with a flat back, reaching your arms up overhead, upward salute. Drawing your hands through heart center to Tadasana, mountain pose. Building our Tadasana from the ground up, grounding through the three corners of the feet, which are below the big toe mound, the little toe mound, and the heel. Drawing up through the kneecaps, stacking your shoulders over your hips, over your ankles. Externally rotating the shoulders, sending energy through the fingertips. Chin parallel to the mat. Beautiful. Reach your arms up overhead. Take a soft bend in the knees as you fold forward from the hip creases with a flat back, all the way down to forward fold. Releasing the head and shoulders. Tracing the fingertips up the shins with a flat back to halfway lift, reaching through the crown of the head. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands on the mat, step back with the left foot and then the right into plank. Lower your knees to the mat, untuck your toes and keep your elbows hugging in by your sides as you lower all the way down, resting your forehead on the mat. Pressing the tops of the feet into the mat, legs engaged, kneecaps lift. Without any weight in the hands, inhale, peel your chest off the mat for baby cobra, gaze lowered. And exhale, lower down, press your hands into the mat, tuck your toes, and send the hips up and back to downward dog. Bring the gaze to the top of the mat, slowly stepping forward to forward fold. Grounding through the feet, slowly rising to upward salute. Drawing your hands through heart center to Tadasana, and coming right back up to upward salute. Soft bend in the knees, forward fold. Halfway lift, back to fold. Plant your hands on the mat, this time stepping back with the right foot and then the left. Heels or knees can be on or off the mat as you lower all the way down. Tenting your fingertips to either side of your shoulders so that your elbows are pointing up towards the ceiling. Inhale, peel the chest off the mat for this cobra variation. Option to dip one shoulder and then the other for a nice shoulder stretch. And lower back down, press your hands into the mat, tuck the toes, send the hips back to downward dog. Lift the left leg to three-legged dog, dialing the pinky toe to point towards the mat so that your hips are level towards the mat. Bend the knee, draw it in towards the chest, planting the left foot, and lower the back knee, untuck the back toes so we're in low lunge with your front knee stacked over your ankle. Left hip drawing back, right hip drawing forward so that our hip points are pointing towards the top of the mat. Beginning to straighten the front leg, coming into runner's lunge. Opening up the hamstring. And flowing between low lunge and runner's lunge at your own pace a few times. Meeting back in low lunge. Plant your hands on the mat, framing the foot, and open up towards the left for a twist, keeping your knees stacked over your ankle, opening up the chest towards the ceiling. Counter the twist, opening up towards the right. Plant both hands on the mat, tuck the back toes, lift the knees, send the left leg back to three-legged dog. Lower your toes to the mat and lift your right leg to three-legged dog. Bend the knee, draw it in towards the chest. Plant that foot. Lower the back knee, untuck the back toes. Front knee stacked over ankle. Beginning to straighten the front leg. Coming into runner's lunge. And flowing between low lunge and runner's lunge a few times. Meeting back in low lunge. Plant your hands on the mat, framing the foot, opening up towards the right. Counter the twist, opening up towards the left. Plant both hands on the mat. Tuck the back toes, lift the knees, and the right leg back to three-legged dog. Lower your toes to the mat. Bring the gaze to the top of the mat, stepping forward to fold. And this time, bending the knees as much as you need to place one hand and then the other underneath the feet so that your toes are coming towards the wrist crease, giving your hands a nice little massage. And releasing one hand and then the other. Grounding through the feet as you rise. Drawing your hands through heart center to Tadasana. With your hands at heart center, let's sit back into chair pose, Utkatasana. You should still be able to see the tips of your toes. Your chest should be nice and lifted. Option to extend your arms overhead. Maybe sinking the hips a little bit deeper. You got it, engaging the core. And folding forward, awesome job. Halfway lift, back to fold. Plant your hands on the mat, step back to plank. And you can either lower all the way down, taking cobra, or you can join me in coming forward on the toes, lower halfway to chaturanga, and pulling through to upward dog. With your hips and your knees up off the mat, gaze forward. And we'll all meet in downward dog. Lifting the left leg to three-legged dog. This time bend the knee and open up the hips, stacking one on top of the other. Drawing circles with the ankle. Keeping the weight evenly distributed between your two arms. Switch circles with the ankle. Square the hips, extend your leg, come forward to three-legged plank. With your shoulders stacked over your wrists, bring your knee to your left elbow and hold. You got it. Extend, knee to right elbow. Extend, and plant the left foot, this time coming up to crescent lunge. With your hips facing forward, front knee stacked over ankle, we're up on the ball of the back foot, arms up towards the ceiling. Pivoting your right arm forward and left arm back, coming into a standing twist. Coming back through center and opening up to warrior two, planting both feet so your front heel is aligned with the back arch. Hips are facing the side of the room, front knee stacked over ankle, grounding through the outer edge of the back foot, arms out to a T, gaze over the front fingertips. Keeping your shoulders stacked over your hips. Flip the front palm, reverse your warrior. Finding a nice side body stretch. Coming back to warrior two. Pivot back to crescent lunge. Plant your hands on the mat and open up towards the left for a twist. Really firmly planting your right hand underneath the forehead on the mat as you make your way, stepping back to side plank. Feel free to lower your knee to the mat or create a kickstand. Really making sure that we're lifting the hips, stacking the shoulders, opening up the chest, engaging the core. You got this. And lower to plank. Taking any vinyasa flow of your choice. It can be cat and cow, upward dog, cobra, anything you like. And we'll meet in downward dog. Lower the knees, untuck the toes, send the hips back to your heels, resting your forehead on the mat in child's pose. Reach your arms out in front, lift the hips, tuck the toes, send the hips back to downward dog. Bring your gaze towards the top of the mat, bend the knees, and step or float to the top. Rising to upward salute. Drawing your hands through to heart center and sitting back into chair. Taking whichever arm position you prefer. This time maybe coming up on the toes. Sinking the hips a little bit deeper. And forward fold. Halfway lift. Back to fold. Plant your hands on the mat, step back to plank. And if you would like to, take a vinyasa flow of your choice or meet us in downward dog. Lifting the right leg to three-legged dog, bend the knee, open up the hips, drawing circles with the ankle, and switching direction. Square the hips, extend the leg, come forward to three-legged plank, bringing your knee to your right elbow and hold. Extend, knee to left elbow, amazing job. Extend, plant that foot, coming up to crescent lunge. Hips facing forward. Shifting the left arm forward, right arm back, standing twist. Coming through center and opening up to warrior two. Knee stacked over ankle, finding that nice external rotation of the front leg, internal rotation of the back leg. Reverse your warrior. Back to warrior two. Pivot around to crescent lunge. Lower your hands to the mat. Open up to the right for a twist. Firmly planting that left hand underneath the forehead as you make your way into side plank, taking any variation that works for you. Amazing job. Go ahead and lower to plank. Take a flow of your choice if you would like. And meet in downward dog. Lower your knees, untuck the toes, taking child's pose. Reach your arms out in front, lift the hips, tuck your toes, send the hips back to downward dog. Step or float to the top, rising to upward salute. Hands at heart center. Sitting back into chair once again. This time shifting the weight into the left foot as you step back with the right to crescent lunge, arms up. Planting the back foot, shortening the stance to a little bit shorter than we did for Warrior Two, straightening both legs, but keeping a micro bend in each knee for protection. Extend your arms to either side, bumping up the back hip as you reach forward, moving into triangle pose, lowering the fingertips to the shin. Gaze can be lower to your foot, or you can tuck the chin and bring your gaze to your extended upper arm. Really opening up the chest, staying light on the fingertips. And using the strength of your core to lift yourself back up to standing, pivot around to crescent lunge, and hinging forward from the hip creases just halfway and hold. Arms can be lifted, or you can have your hands at heart center. Engaging the core. Just a few more seconds. And planting the hands on the mat. Step back to plank. Take a vinyasa flow of your choice, meeting in downward dog. Step or float to the top. Rising to upward salute. Hands together at heart center. Sitting back into chair. This time shifting the weight into your right foot and stepping back with the left to crescent lunge. Planting the back foot, shortening the stance a bit, straightening both legs, keeping a micro bend in each knee. Extend your arms, reaching forward, lowering the hand for Trikonasana triangle pose. Opening up the chest, staying light on the fingertips. Beautiful job. And using the strength of your core to lift yourself back up to standing, pivot around to crescent lunge on the ball of the back foot, and hinge forward halfway, taking whichever arm position you prefer, engaging the core and hold. Lower your hands down to the mat. Step back to plank. Take a flow of your choice. Meet in downward dog. Lower your knees to the mat, untuck your toes, taking child's pose. Feel free to grab water anytime you need. Reaching your arms out in front, lift the hips, tuck the toes, send the hips back to downward dog. Step or float to the top. Rising to upward salute. Tadasana mountain pose. Pause for a breath cycle. Upward salute. Soft bend in the knees, forward fold, flat back. Halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Back to fold. Plant your hands on the mat, step back to plank. Take a flow if you would like. And meet in downward dog. Lift the left leg, planting the left foot. Popping up to crescent lunge. This time wrapping the right arm underneath the left, coming into eagle arms with your elbows coming up, hands coming away from the body. Really drawing in towards the midline, finding that adduction, drawing the thighs together. Unravel the arms, bring your hands together at heart center. Shifting the weight into the front foot, lifting the back toes off the mat and crossing your right thigh over your left, bending into both knees. Slowly unravel, stepping back to crescent lunge. And we'll do this dynamic movement a few times. Shifting the weight forward, wrapping the leg, bending into the knees, and stepping back. 2 more times. Wrap the legs, sinking the hips. Slow and controlled, step back to lunge. 1 more time. And step back, awesome job. Lift your arms up towards the ceiling, plant your hands on the mat, step back to downward dog. Lift your right leg, planting the right foot, coming up to crescent lunge. Wrapping your left arm underneath the right, eagle arms. Maybe take a slight back bend. Unravel the arms, bring your hands together at heart center, shifting the weight forward, lifting the back toes and crossing the left thigh over the right, sinking the hips, bending the knees, and slow and controlled step back to lunge. 3 more times. Cross the legs and step back. Coming forward. Maybe sinking a little deeper, stepping back. 1 more time. Forward and back. Amazing job. Way to stick with it. Arms up. Plant your hands on the mat. Step back to downward dog. Lower the knees, untuck your toes, take child's pose. Extend your arms out in front, lift the hips, tuck the toes, send the hips back to downward dog. And step or float to the top. Rising to upward salute. Hands together at heart center and Tadasana. Turn to face the side of the mat. Take a big step out to the side, paralleling your feet to one another. Lengthening through the spine, microbend in each knee, hinging forward from the hip creases with a flat back, coming into wide-legged forward fold. Reaching for your shins or for the mat. Go as far as you can and then release the head and shoulders. Shifting the weight a little bit more forward. Bending into one knee and then the other. Dynamically moving back and forth a little bit. Coming back to center. Ground into the feet. Bring your hands to your hips and slowly rise back to standing. Take a big side step back to the front, turn to face the top of the mat in Tadasana. And we're going to move on to tree pose, Vrikshasana. So shifting the weight into the left foot, bend the right knee, open up the hips, and you can have your heel kickstanded onto your ankle, or you can bring your foot to the calf, or your foot to the thigh, whatever is most comfortable for you, as long as you avoid putting pressure on the knee. If that hip is riding up, let's think about leveling out the hips. Hands can be at heart center or lifted. Really grounding through the three corners of the standing leg, as if we were growing our roots deeper into the mat. Reaching through the crown of the head as if we were growing our tree another inch taller. Beautiful. Draw your hands through to heart center. Gently guide your leg closed. Lower your toes back down to the mat. Shifting the weight this time into your right leg. Bending the left knee. Externally rotate out the hip and bring your foot to wherever is most comfortable, taking whichever arm position you prefer. Keeping a micro bend in the standing leg, drawing the shoulder blades down the back. Gorgeous. Draw your hands through to heart center. Guide your leg closed. Lower your feet back down onto the mat. Extend your arms overhead and forward fold. Halfway lift. Back to fold. Plant your hands on the mat. Step back to plank. Take a flow of your choice and meet in downward dog. This time, let's walk our hands to meet our feet in forward fold at the back of the mat. Grounding through the feet as you rise to upward salute, drawing your hands through to heart center. Taking a step forward with the left foot, hinging forward from the hip creases, lifting the back foot, coming into warrior three, creating one line from the top of your head through your back heel, hips facing the mat below you. Hands can be at heart center, your arms can be back behind you or out in front. Engaging the core, grounding through the standing foot, reaching through the crown of the head, pressing back through your heel. Amazing job. And slowly begin to come back up to standing. This time crossing your right thigh over the left, bending into both knees like we did before. Maybe you cross the ankle around your standing leg. And wrapping the right arm underneath the left, coming into eagle arms. We're in the eagle pose, Garudasana. Really drawing in towards the midline, keeping the chest lifted, maybe sinking the hips a little bit deeper. Coming back to the breath. And slowly unravel the arms, unravel the legs, shake it out. Awesome job. Upward salute, forward fold. Halfway lift, back down to fold. Plant your hands on the mat, step back to plank. Take a flow of your choice or meet in downward dog. Walking your hands back to meet the feet. And rising to upward salute. With your hands at heart center. This time stepping forward with the right foot, hinging forward from the hip creases, coming into warrior three, taking whichever arm position you prefer. Really engaging the core, reaching through the crown of the head and stomping back through your heel. Bring your hands to heart center, slowly rise, crossing your left thigh over the right, bending into the knees, maybe wrapping that leg a little further, coming into eagle with your left arm wrapping underneath the right, elbows coming up, hands away from the body. Slowly unravel the arms, unravel the legs, shake it out. Upward salute, forward fold, halfway lift, back to fold. Plant your hands on the mat, step back to plank, and take one last vinyasa flow. Meet in downward dog. Lower your knees to the mat, untuck your toes, take child's pose with your arms down by your sides. Reach your arms out in front, lift the hips, and make your way into a seated position with your legs stretched out in front of you. Dandasana staff pose. With your feet flexed, reaching through the crown of the head, shoulder blades gliding down the back. And folding forward in any amount. Coming back up, bend the right knee, plant the right foot on the other side of the left knee, knee pointing up towards the ceiling, hover the fingertips above the mat, lengthen through the spine and twist from the core towards the right, crossing your arm and lightly tenting your fingertips by your side, chin over chest. Half Lord of the Fishes pose. Lengthen through the spine and come back to center. Uncross the legs, bend the left knee, cross the left foot, the other side of the right knee, hover the fingertips, lengthen through the spine, twisting from the core to the left, chin over chest. Coming back to center, uncross the legs, reaching your arms out in front of you and engaging the core as you slowly lower down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And bending the knees, bringing the soles of the feet together. Heels can be closer or farther away from your sits bones, whatever's most comfortable for you, in Supta Baddha Konasana, reclined bound angle, with your arms down by your sides. Use your hands to gently guide your legs back closed, hugging yourself into a ball, hugging the knees in towards the chest, curling yourself up into a ball, maybe rocking a little forward and backward, side to side. And planting the feet on the mat once again, but walking your feet out to mat width apart, allowing your knees to rest together in the center. Arms coming out wide, resting on the mat. And slowly lowering your knees over to the left for a traction twist. Keeping your shoulder blades planted on the mat, gaze up towards the ceiling. If you'd like, you can bring your gaze over your right shoulder. Bring the gaze back to center, bring the legs back to center, pausing for a moment with the knees together in the center. And then slowly lower your knees over to the right. Gaze up towards the ceiling. Maybe you bring your gaze over your left shoulder if that feels good. Bring your gaze back to center, bring your legs back to center. Hug your knees into the chest one more time. Reaching for the outer edges of your feet, drawing your knees in towards your armpits for happy baby. Drawing your tailbone towards the mat, maybe rocking a little side to side, front and back. And gently release when you're ready, allowing your legs to extend long on the mat, extending your arms down by your sides, allowing the feet to splay to the sides, allowing the gaze to soften or the eyes to close. Doing a full body scan from the top of your head through the tips of your toes, releasing any remaining tension, especially in your jaw and your shoulders. Really sinking into the mat and settling into your Shavasana. Starting to bring awareness back into the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Drawing circles with the wrists and the ankles. Reaching your arms overhead for a full body stretch. And using your arm as a pillow as you roll onto your right side. Use your hands to press yourself back up into a comfortable seated position. With your hands together at heart center, namaste. All right, that's all I have for today. Again, my name is Julia. Thank you all so much for coming to my Vinyasa yoga class. I hope you have a great rest of your evening.